regrets. Do it for the love, the rush, the buzz, the hush. Whatever tunes your knees to mush, the hit, the lift. Even if you gotta sift through the shit to get to the twist. The smile I hide, I get your very last line. You'll never get another try. Do it loud. Do it for the loud, for the here and now.
Hello, my name is Thomas. I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm 43 years old. When I was a boy in the mid-90s, I was on my grandparents' farm just south of Hardy, Nebraska. And it is a really small town, and my grandfather had a pretty big farm that was about, I think it was 2 sections, and a section is like 650 acres. So it was a good sized farm. And when I was a young boy, up to about 10 years old, we used to go down there in the summertime, me and my cousin, and we would stay there in the summertime. And most of the time we were just, left to play. We could play all we wanted to. We didn't have much responsibilities, at that age. And the big incident that happened to us both down there, my cousin's name was J-Bo. His name was Jason, but we called him J-Bo for short. So, and he was a year younger than me. So I think it was 95. I would have been about 13. And the big significant thing that happened that year, as far as us being able to explore further and further around the farm, was that my grandpa had an old Honda three-wheeler that we were able to get running that year. And us being 12 and 13 years old, that having a three-wheeler was a big deal. And so all of a sudden there were parts of the property that really opened up to us. So we'd ride that forward, or that three-wheeler around, all over the place. There was the type of farm that it was. There was a lot of crops, cornfields, some soybean, and of course cattle. There were lots of fields that would get hay cut yearly. So there was always hay in the fields, hay in the barns. Even big stacks of hay with tarps over them. I mean, there was endless places that we could explore and play. But we had this three-wheeler available to us, and so we started really going to places. And there's a river down there not too far away from the farm. The farm backed up to it, called the Republican River. So we could actually go down there and go fishing, now that we had the four-wheeler. Or I don't know why I keep calling it a four-wheeler, but now that we've got the three-wheeler, we could go fishing. And we actually had a wagon that we could pull with the three-wheeler. And so at one point there was a lot of woods down there, a lot of bottomland, especially when you get closer to the Republican River. And there were lots of stretches of woods, even between a lot of the cultivated fields. So we decided that we were going to build a treehouse. And so there was all kinds of scrap lumber around, with all the barns and piles of wood, and lots of tin, metal and things like that. So we just made it our project to make a tree house. So, we had a couple of areas that we, thought would work good. There were some good sized trees, nice forked trees, on the edge of the cornfields where we could actually build a nice tree house. So that's what we did. We found a place, was able to secure a place to put a tree house in. So we did what we could, scouring all of the wood piles around the farm, getting us a couple of hammers, a bucket full of nails, and we put ourselves to work. And, we made many, many trips down in there, working on the tree house. And basically it was just a platform with wood slats nailed up the side of the tree to a platform. Now, it was only about 10 foot up, 10 or 12 foot. It seemed pretty high to us at the time, but when the incident happens in the dark, it was not, it did not seem high enough, but we'll get to that later. So we built a tree house. It was not built to any safety standards whatsoever. It was very rickety. It was unsafe. I'm surprised that parts of it did not fall down while we were up there, especially with both of our body weights. But it held up, and we really enjoyed having that as a go-to place that was ours. It was our fort. It was our pirate ship. It was everything that we could imagine it became. And so we spent a lot of time there. We'd take sack lunches with us. I mean, we'd go fishing, we'd explore places in the woods, and then, we'd have a sack lunch up there in the treehouse. It was really a spectacular 13th summer for me and Javo. But we decided to go ahead and just sleep up there one night. And while we were sleeping there, we heard something moving in the cornfield. The cornfield wasn't too far off, away from the treehouse, and there were lots of animals on the farm. We run across many deer. Deer could get pretty close to you if you're careful. You can get very close to a deer. There were foxes, there were raccoons, there were possums, there were skunks, there were a lot of animals, vultures, hawks. So if we heard a noise, being farm boys, we didn't get spooked by any particular noise. So we're up in the treehouse, and it's well after dark. We have these little cheap plastic flashlights that we were able to scavenge out of my grandmother's junk drawer in the kitchen. And they're like, one was blue, and I think the other one was yellow, maybe. The big plastic with D batteries, very cheaply made, not reliable. But that was the flashlights that were available to us, so that's what we had. So we're up in this platform, 10, 11 o'clock at night, staying up as late as we can, just up there, enjoying chit-chatting and just talking about stuff. And we start hearing this noise down in the cornfield. It didn't seem too far away, but it was a crunching sound. And for a second, I thought maybe that there was a rodent type animal chewing on the plastic of the three-wheeler. So that concerned me. So of course, we hang our head over the side of the treehouse, and we're listening intently because we can see the three-wheeler right down there. But the sound was beyond that. The sound was inside the cornfield, several rows in on the cornfield, and it just sounded like a crunching sound. And us, not knowing that it's anything to be afraid of, we just come up with the nickname, the Bone Cruncher. We just said it sounds like something chewing on bones. So we affectionately named it the Bone Cruncher, and we heard it multiple times. We had spent many nights up in there, and every time that thing would come in there and we would hear it, we'd be like, "Hey, there's our friend the Bone Cruncher." Now, I do want to bring up that I have spoken to Jabo as an adult about that time, about that summer, and he brought it to my attention. And uh, at one point, we remember we were up at the house, and Grandpa told told us, he said make sure you guys aren't down there with your shoes off. And I'm not quite sure why he said that, but I did ask why. I said why, and he said, that there's a lot of uh, uh, tin, rusty tin, and things like that lays around. And he didn't want us to get cut our feet and have to get a tetanus shot. But I thought it was, I said I should have asked him, why did you see footprints? But I didn't. I just said okay, because I didn't know at that point that Jabo didn't ever kick off his shoes or walk barefooted or something. So I just think that was an interesting tidbit of information that Grandpa maybe saw some tracks around the fields, barefoot tracks. But needless to say, when it came to the Bone Cruncher, it would only happen well after dark when we were up in the tree stand or up in the tree house. And so we were up there another night, and we hear the Bone Cruncher come in, and this time I'm getting a little brave, because we had talked about it a couple of nights, we heard it a couple of nights, and uh, so this time I'm a little brave, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna go down there and flush, you know, maybe a groundhog or something. Uh, so I go down the tree with my flashlight in my mouth, and when I hit the ground, I take the flashlight in my hand, and I walk over to the edge of the cornfield, and I'm shining the light in there where I was hearing the noises. And of course, as I start walking in that direction, the noises stop, but I still go to that spot and just kind of shine the light. And most of you guys know how corn is planted in rows. So it was about maybe the third or fourth row in. I saw this hulking figure squatted down, and it had a corn husk in its hand, and it was slowly rising, very slowly. It was standing up. It was on its haunches. It looked like a gorilla, and but it was slowly rising, and the panic that overcame me was uh, overwhelming. It I turned and bolted back to the treehouse, the ladder, a- and I don't even know if I touched any of the 2x4 rungs. I was up that tree so fast, and of course, Jabo was quite nervous seeing what I was doing, and I just threw the blanket over both of us, and I just said, "Lay down." And we're laying there, and he was trying to ask me. I just said, be quiet," and we just laid there, and whatever was in the cornfield that to me looked like a gorilla, it moved on. We didn't hear much. We didn't hear the bone crunching. We didn't hear anything, and it moved on. But I don't even know. I know now that it was a Bigfoot, but I don't know if it was a a big one, an adult, or if it was just a young one, because I never waited for it to stand up. It was in the process of standing up, and I got so panicked and fearful that I didn't wait to see any more than that. So it very well could have been a young one. Uh, I mean, it could have been a big one, but but it since it didn't stand up, I never saw it. So I don't know if it even was taller than the the corn stalks. Uh, but but we laid there, and I was a nervous wreck. So after it moved on, and I was able to calm down, and enough time had passed, uh, I, I, Jabo kept asking me. He was like, "What did you see? What is it? What is it?" Uh, and I just told him. I said it was a monster, and he was like, "Are you sure it wasn't a wild hog or a pig?" And and I said, "No, it was not. It was a monster." And we set up for the longest time, and and our immature minds, I was saying monster. He was trying to say everything he could to mitigate it being a monster. Uh, did you see a deer? Could it have been Roger, the dog? There's the neighbor's dog, the big old hound dog that would occasionally come wandering through our farm. We gave it the name of Roger because we thought that was funny. Most dogs have pet names like Blackie or Rex or Petey. We just thought it was funny to give the dog a human name. So we always called him Roger. Here comes Roger, because Roger would just kind of lazily walk through the area. So that was one of the things that he was trying to convince me that, maybe I saw Roger. Uh, but no, I saw what I saw, and maybe I really wasn't wanting to scare Jabo any more than I was scared myself. So we basically just, talked as long as we could until we were satisfied that it wasn't coming back around, and then we were able to go to sleep. Uh, couldn't get up quick enough in the morning as soon as the sunlight hit, but as soon as that sunlight shined on the ground and it was bright, I was down there looking around, and Jabo was right there with me, and we were back in the corn. I mean, I was looking. There was corn laying there. There were husks where the husks was peeled off the cobs. There was 2 or 3 cobs with no kernels on them, and then there was 1 or 2 that still had a bunch of kernels still on them. So that was the bone cruncher. The bone cruncher was eating the corn. So it had been eating the corn, I think, and watching us, because when we would hear the corn, it would be just in the field line, just at the edge of the field. So it's almost like it was sitting back in there, watching us while eating. Uh, and I couldn't know that until after what happened. But so, when we got back up at the house, I mean, I was telling Grandpa. I said, "Grandpa," I said I saw a monster in the cornfield last night, and he said, "No, what?" And he said, and he went through the whole list of animals too, like deer bed down, around the corn, and you probably saw a deer, or maybe it was even a bear. He thought maybe a black bear had wandered in, and I tried to convince him. I mean, I was only 13. You're not gonna convince a 70-something-year-old man who's got it in his head that you saw a bear, that you saw a monster. So, it didn't take long for me to just, kind of just let it go. I mean, I knew what I saw. Uh, I was no longer interested in staying all night long uh, in that treehouse. But that's what I saw. And the farm has been sold a long time ago. It's been split up. Multiple families own different portions of the land now, but there's still a lot of woods. There's certainly still the river is still there. I bet these animals are still there. I bet they've been there all along. I bet they've never gone anywhere. But we never did have them come up. I don't think they ever came up to the house, because we had rabbit hutches and chicken coops and things like that. I just don't remember there ever being an issue of it coming up to the house. So I don't guess they needed to. So that's my story.